Tainted Glove presents Yumper and Svo at the Show podcast with Tom Yumper Garcia.
Oh, what a big man you are. Hey, let me buy you a pack of gum. I'll show you how to chew it. Ooh.
And Justin Svo Svoboda.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Two guys from Chicago talking movies.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 21 of the Yumper and Svo at the Show podcast, presented to you by the Tainted Glove. I'm one of your co-hosts, Tom Garcia, a.k.a. Yumper, and with my other co-host, Justin Svo Svoboda. How you doing, Mr. Svoboda?
I am good, Yumper Claus. Merry Christmas, buddy.
Merry Christmas, my friend, and happy holidays to everyone. So I'm very excited about this episode. We have one of our good friends of the show on. You're one of your best friends and one of our biggest supporters to talk some Christmas movies today.
And just a sexual dynamo.
For sure. And he's got a surprise for everybody. So if you're tuning in, be sure to get excited and pumped up for his appearance. But with that, so let's go straight into our next segment of what we were watching. You want to kick us off?
Yeah, absolutely. Very excited. It's December. It's Christmas season. I've been watching nothing but Christmas movies. I watched Noel with Anna Kendrick and Bill Hader. Goofy, fun, Disney Plus. It's only 2 years old. I really, really enjoyed it. And then a couple weeks ago, I had the privilege of going to the movie theater with our guest tonight, Nom, and our buddy Aloha Mr. Hand, and to see Violent Night. Very funny, goofy, violent Christmas action movie that I enjoyed the hell out of. It's out on all streaming platforms now. It came out early, so you can watch it at home. I think it didn't want to compete against Avatar in the theater. So I highly recommend you checking it out if you get a chance. What about you? What about you, Yump?
Yeah, I haven't seen Noel. I think my wife has seen it. She told me she liked it. But Violent Night, I haven't had a chance to watch. I'm really looking forward to it. You guys pumped it up pretty good, and then I was reading reviews that it's actually a pretty decent movie. The movies I watched were Star Wars: The Last Jedi. After our last episode with Cherizi, I decided to go back and check it out. I know it's Fitz's most hated Star Wars movie, but I figure I'd give it another spin. And it's actually not as bad as people claim it to be. I still don't see the hate about it. I know it's not the greatest Star Wars story. It's just, to me, it's just not the worst one.
I agree with you completely. Like, it's definitely the best out of that trilogy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would say it is too. And then I watch a movie. So we have a tradition in our household where we watch certain Christmas movies every year. And It's a Wonderful Life is one of the ones that we watch every year with my mom. It's me and my mom and my wife watch it. It's gone down from tradition. It was my grandfather's favorite movie to watch with James Stewart, was one of his favorite actors. I love that movie. I love it in black and white. I've seen the color version, which is nice, but I like the original black and white. Frank Capra's It's a Wonderful Life, to me, is like it's Christmas time. It's always something that we turn on and watch as a family. So,
yeah, actually last Sunday, my wife and I bought tickets to go see it. AMC and Fandango, not Fandango. What is it?
I know what you're talking about.
But they showed it at the AMC theaters. So we made it a day with my in-laws, and we went to go see it. And I just forgot like how beautiful of a movie it is. Like it's an absolutely like gorgeous flick. I really, really enjoy it. And there's a scene in the movie, and I hope I'm not spoiling it for anybody. But when George is going to end his life, like he goes to the bridge and he's looking at the water, and the water is so black and haunting. It's kind of always stuck with me every time I've watched the movie. And I enjoy the shit out of this movie. That's my buddy Sal, and we used to quote 4 Christmases all the time. This child is a blessing to the both of us.
Yeah, but It's a Wonderful Life, dude. I love James Stewart. I liked him in the Hitchcock films, Rear Window, Vertigo, and then just his acting. It's so over the top in this movie when he's calling out his wife. He's like, Mary, don't you love me, Mary? Like, he's like hilarious. But the story is actually really well done. And I think I told Baloney this. I found it hilarious and weird that the movie actually bombed big time when it first came
Yeah.
out, and now it's like a Christmas staple. You see it everywhere. I think Channel 11 in Chicago, WTTW always film that. It always puts it out there. That's
Do you remember before like NBC Universal bought the rights? It was just on repeat like
yeah.
all night. It was almost like a Christmas Story,
Hmm.
like where they weren't purposely airing it 24 hours, but it was on all the time.
Yeah, that's how my grandpa used to watch it. We would sit in his downstairs, and they lived below us, and their apartment below us. We would stay down there with him, and he would watch it. Like we would all sit down and watch, all of us as a family. So just the
Yeah,
tradition carried on.
absolutely. And my mom, she used to like get like a big thing of like, nuts and oranges and like sorry, I said nuts. But like nuts and oranges and tangerines and whatever, and like watch this movie. It was like her tradition. And it's just a great movie. I think everybody, like, if you hate this movie, then you're the type of person that like kicks pigeons when they're like walking by.
Definitely. But with that, that's what we were watching these past couple weeks. So we have a very, very special guest. Do you want to introduce him?
Yeah, I mean, this is a man that really needs no introduction. He loves hot dogs. He loves his family. He loves the 49ers. But everybody, welcome to Yumper Info for the second time, King Nom.
AKA
Hey,
Chris Rico.
how's it going,
So-
everybody? Merry
What is
Christmas.
up, Santa Nom?
I'm ready to go. It's my last night sitting down, relaxing, and then I got to deliver all the presents tomorrow.
Yeah, you have a busy couple nights ahead of you. So we really, really want to thank you for giving us your time and joining us for our Christmas episode. It looks like you have a guest behind you. Do you know who is someone there?
I do. She's somewhere.
Oh,
Jump in, kid. Say hello.
Hi.
Hi, Haley.
hello.
That's my guests aren't very cooperative.
That's okay.
It's okay. It's okay, Santa.
So, Santa, we have a couple questions for you.
Okay.
And we've had you on before, but we asked this to all our guests, and I did you the disservice of not asking you this when you came on for the American Pie
What a jerk.
episode. I know I'm a failure at life.
I
So if
haven't
it's o-
mentioned it to you at all either.
if it's okay, can I ask you those questions now?
Absolutely.
All right.
I
So,
had months to prepare my answer.
what is a movie that you watch when you are under the weather or down or sad?
So I have two options for this. A simple one, if it's on all the time, I just find myself gravitating towards Gone in 60 Seconds. It's not even that great of a movie because I've seen it probably 100 times, but it's just simple and I like the premise behind it. I like the people in it. It's just an easy one to watch. If I'm not feeling good, I'll put that on, and I know that I've seen it so many times that it's either going to keep me entertained or I'm eventually going to fall asleep because I don't feel good, and then I won't care that I fell asleep during the movie anyway.
I
And then-
like it.
Ocean's 11 is kind of the same way. Like I'm a big fan of that one, and same thing. I've seen that so many times that if I happen to fall asleep, then it's good. I'm getting the rest I needed or whatever. And if I stay awake and watch it, then I'm happy too because it entertains me.
Those are both absolutely excellent movies. Now, small question about Ocean's 11. What is the favorite food that Brad Pitt eats in that movie? Because you'll notice every single scene he's eating something.
And I'm not going to be able to answer this.
That's okay. I was just putting you on the spot. You don't have to answer that. You don't
I
have to
can't
answer
answer it, so
that. All right. What movie theater did you go to growing up? What was your go-to movie theater as a kid that you would go see movies at?
River Oaks. River Oaks.
Okay.
Mall, for sure.
Okay.
Man, I probably saw hundreds of movies there growing up. I have guest number 2 is actually popping in. With,
Queen.
Is that the Queen or is that international supermodel Kylie Jenner?
That's international supermodel Kylie Jenner with a cat wearing a Mrs. Claus costume.
Okay.
So we're extra festive in the house tonight.
I love it. I love it.
Awesome.
So River Oaks was your movie theater. What about the Queen? Does she want to answer that?
Same, River Oaks.
I love it.
I mean, that's like 5-minute drive from the house.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely.
where we grew up.
Now, do you remember the movie that you went to go see the first time you got to go to the movies on your own? Like when your parents dropped you off at the theater, or the first time you took the car out, like when you were out on your own?
So I had one that absolutely popped into mind the first time I ever heard you ask this question. And I looked up the year. And when I looked up the year, I was like, okay, I definitely saw movies without my parents before I saw this one. But the one that stood out the most was Beavis and Butthead Do America, for sure, which was, I looked up again today, it was late December of 96. But then, bear with me real quick, I got to check my list.
Check it twice.
I also saw, and I know for a fact that year without my parents and just friends, there were a lot that I saw that year. The Frighteners, Happy Gilmore, Cable Guy, Jingle All the Way,
Great movie.
Mars Attacks, and Twister were all movies that I remember seeing, but obviously as a 13, 14-year-old kid at the time, Beavis and Butthead really stuck with me.
That's fantastic. And it turns out 96, Yump. We might have to put that in the
On our year
notes
of.
for a future episode for a year of, because Nom just listed like 10 movies that are all fantastic.
Yep, that's actually a good year to go to.
Yeah. I remember going to see Beavis and Butthead in 96, and only because we were my buddy and I were walking to Taco Bell. True story, right? And we found a $20 bill on the ground. We didn't have money to go to the movies because, we were 14? And we found a $20 bill on the ground. We're like, dude, it's a sign. We're going to see Beavis and Butthead Do America, only because of the 20 that we found on our way to Taco Bell. We still got Taco Bell in case anybody was wondering. But yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. Do you feel better now that I've asked you those questions? Like, is this something that you can leave me alone about now?
I'll leave you alone about this, but I will find 2 more things to pile on later. Don't worry. It'll be never
All right.
ending.
All right. Well, I think that about does that for this segment. Do you want to jump right into it?
Yeah, so with King Nom, aka Santa here, we decided to go into our favorite Christmas movies, comprised of both our list. So we're gonna give you 10 movies. We're gonna do some deep diving and talking about them. You guys ready to get started?
Absolutely.
Let's do it, Yump.
All right, let's get to our first one.
Unknown number of terrorists, 6 or more armed with automatic weapons at Nakatomi Plaza, Century City.
What's the best place to transmit?
Somebody answer me, goddammit!
The roof. Go, go!
It's the same address as that fire signal. I'll handle it.
Attention, whoever you are, this channel is reserved for emergency calls only.
No fucking shit, lady! Do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza?
1988's Die Hard, directed by John McTiernan, who also directed Predator, The Hunt for Red October, Last Action Hero, and Die Hard 3. The movie is based off a book and a novel called Nothing Lasts Forever by Roderick Thorpe, and it stars Bruce Willis, Alan Rickman, Reginald VelJohnson, and Bonnie Beldea. I had a budget of $35 million and a box office of $141.5 million. King Nom, tell me why you love Die Hard.
What's not to love about Die Hard? I do fall under the category of, yes, it is a Christmas movie, but it's also a year-round movie. Like, that's something that same thing like the ones I mentioned earlier, the Gone in 60 Seconds and stuff. If that's on, who doesn't stop and watch Die Hard? The time of year, the Christmas party at Nakatomi, all that different stuff makes it the Christmas movie in my eyes. It's not just one little reference. And it's a solid movie. Bruce Willis is fantastic. It's a role that held up through a number of sequels, and it's definitely one that goes into the rotation every year.
For sure. It's funny that you mentioned that it's not considered a Christmas movie among some. Well, 2 people have come out and said it was. Reginald VelJohnson came out and said it is a Christmas movie. And actually, 20th Century Fox actually formally admitted that Die Hard is a Christmas movie after saying it's the greatest Christmas story ever told. So whatever Bruce Willis wants to say, it's all bullshit. It's a Christmas movie. I love this movie. It's Alan Rickman's first appearance on film. There's just so many scenes in it that are memorable. You know, the fact that he walks through with the glass, the yippee ki welcome to the party. So many quotable scenes in the movie. I the ending where Alan Rickman's actually let go and he has that surprised look on his face. They actually filmed it that way, not telling him when they're going to let him go, so that it's a genuine reaction. It's just all around action movie, and I'm a sucker for action. And it's this movie that made Bruce Willis a household name in action.
Yeah, I think you guys both hit on some really, really good points. It's also a story of like a man that lost his family going home.
Yes.
Like he's going home, he's going to be reunited with his wife and his kids, and he gets there and things aren't perfect. And then they just get worse. It's super fun. It's super loud. I love it.
Yeah, it's crazy too. And just doing like more research as I was looking into it. The actual building is actually owned by the production company. So it's the headquarters of the 20th Century Fox building. So instead of having to do it within a building where they would have to rent or get permits for stunts, they basically went balls out and did everything they wanted to do because they owned the building. And it's actually Bruce Willis on the elevator in that scene, which is crazy. It's crazy. The movie's just action packed. I love it.
Also, didn't Jan de Bont do like special effects for this movie?
I don't have that in my notes, but I'm pretty sure you could be correct.
I'm almost positive that Jan de Bont like did special effects or something for this movie, and he went on to do Speed and did he do Twister?
He did. Let's see. Let me look this up.
I just know that like he went on to do a lot of great things after this movie, and he was like a known name in action cinematographer.
Yeah, it doesn't say. Yerrick Alfer is the person that did the model making.
Yeah.
So his name's not on here.
Anyways.
I don't know. It's a great movie though. But
one thing with Alan Rickman, Amy and I were talking about that after we watched it earlier this month. As a villain, he's one of the only villains, at least off the top of my head, that I could think of that I have nothing bad to say about him. He's like, he nails that role perfect, and you want to like him. And even though he is like the main bad guy, you still like him as well as Bruce Willis. You like them both for what it is, and I think he nailed that role.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that he also, like, it just goes to show you his range. Like, he played this role, and then he went on to do other things, like a ton of other things. But like in Dogma, like, you loved him in Dogma. Alan Rickman was just like such a talent.
Yeah, he had a very good range. I mean, he could be the serious villain like in this movie, and then he kind of progressed to Dogma as a little comedy, and then if you even want to go off the rails, you can look at Galaxy Quest, where he was the Dr. Lazarus.
Oh, I love Galaxy Quest.
He and the thing is, he almost turned this role down. He actually did initially because he didn't know if he wanted to do it, and then he took it back, after thinking about it for a little bit, and he just, and he's been quoted as saying, "This is probably that would have been the biggest mistake of his career not to have done this movie." Some other things I found interesting was Jack Lemmon, who from The Odd Couple was actually campaigning really hard to be John McClane, which I think is hilarious. But the studio was like, "Yo, you're too old." Tom Berenger turned down the role. Robert De Niro was actually offered the role, but he turned it down to do a movie with Charles Gordon called Midnight Run that came out the same week as this movie. And Bruce Willis, interestingly enough, was rejected for that role that Charles.
Yump, your audio's gone, buddy. Yump, your audio's gone. Nom, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I cannot
Yump,
hear you.
your audio's gone, Yump. Awesome. So we have some technical difficulties, guys. I apologize.
At least they get to sit and smile at Santa still.
At least Santa Claus is there. You and I will carry this while Yump is figuring out the audio. So everybody watching in the comments, What is your favorite Christmas movie? And do you want me to take my shirt off?
Yes.
Yes. That's 2 yeses in the house.
Oh man. So we got that's 3 yeses. Everybody's yes, take your shirt off. Let's do it.
And this Santa beard is incredibly warm, for the record. But I guess it's good on such a cold night.
I mean, Santa's got to have a thick beard for a cold night, right?
He does, definitely.
Yeah.
I see why it's like this.
Yeah. Nothing, Yump. Once again, we're having some technical difficulties. It's all good. We'll get this train back on track here in a minute. But in the meantime, I think the shirt's got to come off, guys. Yeah. We're doing this podcast topless. I'm dumb. That's my nephew.
Look, you got an audience now, Amy. Amy and Haley dove right in for topless folk.
It's cold in here.
We need proof of that. We're going to need you to stand up for a minute.
There are kids in this podcast.
That's all right. I'll make sure they stay on the nice list. There.
It's cold. Oh, my wife is gonna kill me. Did somebody pay $5 to mute Yumper? Oh man. So Spag saw Violent Night, Nom saw Violent Night, Fid saw Violent Night. Everybody's seen Violent Night. I think that's the one that's going to be added to the rotation annually now.
I'm working on getting somebody else to see it, but it's the resistance is strong so far.
I think Haley will really like it.
Yeah. Well, that'll be in a couple of years.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that. Well,
Hey, it's Yumper.
yeah,
Yumper, you missed it. I took my shirt off.
We are
I can
all naked.
happen. Yeah,
all
for
I have on is a beard.
It's a beard.
for some reason my board just crashed out. Like I could see you guys, but I just couldn't talk. I was like, what was the last thing you guys heard me say?
I think you were just going over some tidbits about Die Hard.
Yeah, we were just wrapping that up.
And
Yeah.
Fitz just wants to know, why is your shirt on?
Oh, because I keep my shirt on. That's why I'm not like Fids. I'll need to show my my Oriental tattoo or Chinese tattoo.
Chinese tattoo.
My scripting.
Orientals are rugs.
Hey Haley.
Yep.
Yes, rugs. Thank you. I don't know what language it is. I don't know if it was Japanese or Chinese. I don't want to put it. Anyway, let's move on to the next one.
Let's get into the second one. Yeah.
Yeah, let me get this this presentation up and running. Sorry about the technical difficulties, but you know.
Thanks for hanging with us.
Yeah, let's go into it.
My dad's tuned in and he's so embarrassed right now that I don't have a shirt on. I just know it.
But let's get into our next one. Japanese, thank you, Fids.
You know, there's some Puerto Ricans who work in the firm.
As what, janitors and assistant lavaplatos?
Probably.
Jose is an associate.
Oh, nice.
And I told them how we celebrate the parranda, where we sing the Christmas carols and go house to house to surprise the neighbors.
Wow, Mo, I didn't know your girl was so down with the neighborhood parlante.
2008's Nothing Like the Holidays, directed by Alfred Del Villa, starring John Leguizamo, Alfred Molina, Freddie Rodriguez, Elizabeth Pena, Luis Guzman, and Deborah Messing. This movie only had a box office of $7.5 million, and it was the budget was undisclosed. But the reason this movie's on there is because this is a movie that I think I, for one, I really enjoy, because one, it's based in Chicago, Humboldt Park. It shows a lot of Latino heritage stuff, especially with the Puerto Rican culture, from the parranda to the just the midnight mass, just certain Latino traditions that they have. It's filmed in Chicago. I love John Leguizamo. I love Alfred Molina, who probably people might know him more from Doc Ock. But this movie to me is like one of my favorite movies to watch during Christmas time. It's basically a story of, family members coming together and each of them having their own issues they're dealing with. One of them is a veteran of the Iraqi war that's having issues, adapting and accepting that one of his squad mates passed away and he didn't. And it goes from there. And like there's family secrets that are revealed. It's actually a really good movie. And I like, it ties well together. Roger Ebert actually gave this movie 3 stars, which is kind of crazy considering people claim this movie is just like basically a filler, which I disagree with. Have any of you guys seen this movie?
I've seen this movie multiple times. I actually used to live right across the street, like right by Clemente High School, where this was filmed in Humboldt Park with my buddy Sal. The cast is fantastic. I love Freddie Rodriguez. I think is an underrated actor. I also like Jay Hernandez as the the guy that never left home when Freddie Rodriguez left home. And I love anything John Leguizamo does. I really, really enjoy his body of work. And then Deborah Messing's in it too, she plays like, the white girl that they bring home to family dinner, and it's just a really good movie. And I love anything that takes place in Chicago.
Yeah. What about you, Nom? Have you seen this movie?
So this is going to be my first Sam Mendelsohn of the night, and no, I have not seen this one. There are a few on the list that when Spo sent it to me the other night, I was like, all right, got to catch up on some of these. And I was going to attempt that, and then I got stuck working last night. So that took out one or two of the movies that I was going to try to sneak in. Well, this is one of them. The cast seems great, and I guess I should definitely give this one a crack.
Yeah, I think the family dynamic in here is what sells this movie, and just a different perspective. Seeing what it's like to be a Puerto Rican that lives in Humboldt Park, I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of there's a lot of cultural aspects thrown around. Like John Leguizamo is married to Deborah Messing, so him bringing home somebody she's exposed to this culture. It's like there's a lot of jokes in it because there's 2 comedians in it, Luis Guzman and him. But the movie is actually like it's really, really well done, and like the under story that was with Alfred Molina's character, the father, and his wife Elizabeth Pena is actually really done well. So check it out, Nam, if you haven't. It's not really a well-known movie, but it's a movie that I stumbled upon. Actually, I think it was at Best Buy. And it was like $5 that I bought it, and then I watched it. So I think I still have that copy. So it's something that I watched, just discovered myself, and just kept watching.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. Like I said, the cast looks really good just from looking at the graphic, and can't see why I wouldn't like it.
Yeah. All right, guys, let's move into our next movie.
It's the story of your life, Ash. You fucked the wrong guy. Rudy Duncan, honey. We still gonna spend Christmas together?
You fucking bastard! No! God damn it! You are a lucky convict. You're gonna be spending Christmas with the birthday boy himself.
2000's Reindeer Games, directed by John Frankenheimer, who also directed Ronin and the Doctor of the Island of Dr. Monroe. This movie stars Gary Sinise, Ben Affleck, Charlize Theron, Dennis Farina, and James Franco. This movie actually didn't make money at the box office, which I found surprising. It had a budget of $42 million and a box office of $32 million. Swole, tell me why you love Reindeer Games.
First of all, I think this movie came out, and Yumper, you have the notes there. I'm almost positive it came out in the middle of the fucking summer.
Yes.
It's almost why, and let me finish first. It's almost why I haven't watched Wednesday yet. Have you watched Wednesday, Yumper?
No, but this movie came out February 25th. So,
okay. So like, still, right?
Like, yeah.
Like, I haven't watched Wednesday yet because it came out in November when it could have just come out in flipping October around Halloween season. I'm not denying, Fids, that it's good. I want to see it. Like, just after Halloween season, my wife and I go into holiday movies, and this didn't fall under that category. But this movie, the Reindeer Games, is so corny and so over the top and so fun that I love watching it every single year. I love Dennis Farina's character as the guy that runs the casino, and he looks he deadpan looks at the camera and he goes, "Hey, what other casino buffet has Coke and Pepsi? Tell me that," right? Like, it's so corny, it's so fun. And everyone knows that I love Ben Affleck. I am a Ben Affleck apologist. I love his movies. And this movie is kind of what started it for me. I was a senior in high school working at Sony Theaters in Streamwood, and I saw this movie, I'm not kidding, like 20 times for free when I was off of work because there was nothing else to do. I don't maybe it's just me. Yump, I don't know how you feel about this movie. Nom, I don't know how you feel about this movie, but it's a good, fun, bang bang, shoot 'em action flick.
It's a total action flick. I don't think it's a horrible movie. I think it's a good action flick. It's like Ben Affleck being in action. I love Gary Sinise. Some things I found interesting was that the fact that you're like confessing your love for this movie, and Charlize Theron came out and said that this was a bad movie. But she got to work with John Frankenheimer, so that's was the little silver lining to it.
She's not
But
wrong.
but I mean, there's certain things. Danny Trejo's in this movie too, and I love Danny Trejo. There's like a lot of cameos in this movie too. I think Isaac Hayes is in the prison cell, the prison
He's
riot
the
scene.
cook. No,
Yeah.
he's not the cook. He's like monsters in the
Yeah.
gelatin.
Yeah, that guy. And then
what's his name from
Ashton Kutcher is in there too.
He
He's the
is
guy
in the
he switches it-
casino.
Yeah.
And what's his name from Tales from the Hood? Do you have the shit?
Oh, Clarence Williams.
Clarence Williams. He's one of like Gary Sinise's thugs.
Yeah. Actually, so the funny thing I found just researching this movie was Vin Diesel actually had a role in this movie, and him and John Frankenheimer couldn't get along. So he dropped out. It was a small role, but he actually got a call to be in another movie. Do you know what that was, Will?
Around that time, I'm gonna say Pitch Black.
Fast and the Furious.
Oh man.
So
well, you can't turn down family, bro.
yeah, so he got that, and now they have like 30 of those movies. And a friend of the show, Richard Roper, loves those movies.
Well, it's funny because that franchise made news today. Gal Gadot is reprising her role in the Fast and the Furious franchise they announced today.
Yeah, in the DC universe, you might be killed off, but in the Fast and Furious universe, everything family will prevail, and you come back.
Nom, how do you feel about reindeer games?
So this one was going to be the one out of the list that I was going to watch. I've seen it, but it was so long ago that I guarantee it would be like seeing it for the first time again. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch up on this one, but I definitely am going to. I got a few Christmas movies that I still want to hammer out before the new year that we've been behind on, and I will definitely add this because it's been so long. So it's got, like you guys said, though, the action and all that. Like I'm all in on that. I'm sold already. So I know that I liked it. I just don't remember anything about it to contribute.
I mean, you're robbing a casino. It's Christmas time. It's just stupid fun.
Powwow room.
That's everything that I love.
Wow.
Casino and Christmas.
Yeah, absolutely. It falls under the Die Hard. Like, it's not as good as Die Hard, like by any means, but it falls under that same category of just a non-traditional Christmas movie.
Yeah, and they robbed the casino just as Santa's. So.
Yeah.
But check this one out if you haven't. It's in like a all action out movie. But with that, let's get into our next one.
Time for the announcement. Okay, people, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Santa's coming to town.
Santa! Oh my God! Santa here? I know him.
Elf, released in 2003, directed by Jon Favreau, starring Will Ferrell, James Caan, Bob Newhart, and Zooey Deschanel. The movie had a budget of $33 million and had a box office of $225 million. Nom, tell me about Elf.
Fantastic, top to bottom. Absolutely. I'll fight people on this one. It'll go on my Mount Rushmore of Christmas movies. Will Ferrell is fantastic to begin with, and then he nails this role perfect. James Caan is fantastic. Everything about it. It is very over the top, but that's what it's supposed to be. It's just a happy Christmas movie, and everything about it is solid, I believe.
Yeah, totally agree. My kid loves this movie. I mean, it's a movie that's aged very well. This is Will Ferrell's first, starring role, and he came out with a bang. I mean, this movie made at least almost 10 times its budget, which is crazy. One thing that doesn't get talked enough about is Jon Favreau. Like, he's made some good movies, and he doesn't really get talked about as a great director, and I think he's starting to edge his way there. As just a great all around creator of things. I mean, he's done good things with the Star Wars franchise. He's done this movie. He's done Marvel franchise. He's done things with them. The Jungle Book. Like, he's a very good director.
The Lion King.
Lion King, yes. And this just adds to it. I love this movie. I love everything about it. I think Will Ferrell's character to me is hilarious because a lot of the stuff he did around town, nobody knew that they were in a movie. He caused accidents when he was running around with the taxi cars. The guy who he saw as Santa, he thought was Santa in the beginning of the movie, didn't know they were filming a movie and was like, "Who the hell is this guy?" It's just a fun-filled movie, and I love Faison Love, as the boss
Yeah.
in the
Well,
movie.
and that scene with Faison Love, like where they're like he's fighting the other Santa and he comes and breaks it up, and it's just perfect. Also, Faison Love went on to do that other movie with John Favreau, that I think is underrated, Couples Retreat.
Yes, another good
Like,
movie.
I think that's a great movie too.
Yeah.
I have noticed that there's a lot of elf slander on the Twitter timeline these days, and I don't understand it. I don't
Will
get it.
Ferrell. He's a lightning rod, man. People, you either like him or you hate him, I think. And I feel
The
like
other
that's
thing,
why everybody jumps on it.
yeah, the other thing that I love about this movie is Zoe Deschanel's singing voice, and obviously she's in She and Him, and she's like a celebrated musician on her own. But like when her and Will Ferrell duet "Baby It's Cold Outside," I think it's just a fantastic moment in the movie. It's probably one of my favorite moments in the movie.
Yeah, and that's the awesome part. I mean, there's a lot of good singing in the movie. There's just a lot of good, like, the animation part with, what's his name? Mr. Narwhal. That's pretty cool when he goes through, the damn
Bye,
snowman.
buddy. Hope
Yeah,
you
that's
find your dad.
That's actually John Favreau doing that voice, which I thought was crazy when I found that out. But even the snowman's from the old Christmas movies we used to watch as kids, the claymation ones. Just tying into there, that was pretty cool. A very she and him Christmas movie. But yeah, this movie, it's it's got everything you want. Like a fish out of water tale, Christmas in it, Will Ferrell's comedic, sound bits to it. It's got Peter Dinklage in it as Miles Finch, which I found out he loved that. He hates doing any roles that have to do with dwarfism or elves or magical creatures that are set for those type of people with those disabilities. He hates doing that. So that's why when he was acting out as Miles Finch, saying "Call me dwarf one more time" or elf, he was really portraying how he really feels. And then you have James Caan, known for The Godfather, and he's in a fucking elf movie.
He's so good in a movie though.
Yeah.
Like it's just so goofy. It's really perfect. I remember when it first came out, like immediately like shot to the top of like this movie is just it's going to be a Christmas classic for forever now.
Definitely. And it was so popular they wanted to do a sequel, and they offered Will Ferrell $29 million to do it, and he turned it down.
Yeah. You
Now
can't like it's just one of those like moments of you don't mess with perfection. Sorry, Nom, go ahead, buddy.
This one's what, 20 years old now? Was this a 2003-ish?
2003.
Yeah, so that's how you know this stands up, because even the people that slander it online, everybody still talks about it almost 20 years later. Like it's in the rotation of everybody's main Christmas movies, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, it totally is. It's a staple now. But with that, guys, let's move on to our next
Can
one.
I do real quick one thing? I got somebody that wants to give her favorite Christmas movie before she disappears for the evening.
Yes.
Sure, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, kid. This one, I don't understand this answer, but we'll hear it. Pop on, kid. What's your favorite Christmas movie?
The Grinch.
Which version? With Jim Carrey or the animated
cartoon?
one?
Jim Carrey.
So she says it's the one with Jim Carrey, but I don't really believe her. So we've seen that one time with her, but apparently that's her favorite. So
Well, maybe it stuck with her, man.
yeah. But if you're asking for my version, it would definitely be the 2018 version with what's his name?
Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, that one.
Really?
That one for me has become an absolute must watch every year. In fact, we just went and saw that at AMC Crestwood a couple weeks ago.
I am totally with you. I was very, very excited to see that Grinch with Benedict Cumberbatch in it. So my wife and I decided, we're like, hey, let's invite your family out to go see it on Black Friday, right? And my dad and my sister were like, "Oh God, do we have to go see this? We need to go get Bourbon County releases at Benny's." They were so cranky about going to see it, and it's turned into one of my favorite Christmas movies.
I've never seen that one.
Oh, it's good.
It's good. It's your kid will love it. Your wife will love it. Like, it's a good family movie for sure.
Yeah, out of the two that I've seen, which is the Jim Carrey one and the original, I like the original better. I like Jim Carrey, but I just prefer the original better. But I'll definitely check out the other one. But thank you, Haley.
Yeah, thanks, Haley.
With that, guys, let's move into our next film.
So I know that you gentlemen won't be able to see them, but you're certainly going to be able to respect the fact that they're there. These boundaries are not to be crossed. And if they are crossed, there's going to be real consequences to that. Thank you.
Welcome to the Octagon, son!
Four Christmases, released in 2008, directed by Seth Gordon, starring Vince Vaughn, Reese Witherspoon, Robert Duvall, Jon Favreau, and Mary Steenburgen. The movie had a budget of $80 million and made $163 million at the box office. So I know this is one of your favorite movies. Tell us why.
I just like everyone. Not everyone. I shouldn't say everyone. Some people come from normal homes, but everyone has had to deal with all right, well, we got to go by my parents. Well, we got to go by my dad. Then we got to go by my mom. And then we got to go by your dad. And we got to go by your mom. And then it's the cast is just so this was Vince Vaughn at his peak comedy, wedding crashers. This was a funny movie. The cast is really good. Robert Duvall is the dad. Is hilarious. And then you have Tim McGraw and Jon Favreau as the brothers, Orlando and Dallas. And then Vince Vaughn's name is Vince Vaughn. No.
Vince Vaughn, I think, is Orlando.
Vince Vaughn is Orlando. And then it's Dallas and Denver.
Yeah.
They're named after the cities that they were conceived in. But the best moment, and we already talked about it once earlier in the chat, was when they convinced Reese Witherspoon and Vince Vaughn to play Mary and Joseph in the Christmas Eve pageant. And Vince Vaughn is so over the top, and he goes, "This child is a blessing to the both of us. Do your job and swaddle that baby, woman." I love this movie. The first time my wife watched it, we were still dating, and she was sick as shit. And she woke up and she's like, "What is this stupid movie you're watching?" And I'm like, "Oh no." And now she loves it. We have to watch it every year. This year it was the first movie we watched after Thanksgiving.
Nom, what do you think about this one?
So I'll be honest, this one went about 10 years before somebody introduced it to me. I think I saw it about 4 years ago. And it has been in the rotation every year since. The cast is absolutely spot on, phenomenal. Robert Duvall, to me, he steals the whole movie. He's just great when he calls. The whole satellite dish scene is great. When he, how does he say it? He goes,
"You think I'm going to allow some sexual predator on my
sex predator, whatever." And then the other one, when he's like, "I don't mean to speak ill of your mother at Christmas, but she's nothing but a common street whore," or something like that. And he's like, "Nice restraint, Dad." It is phenomenal. The people that grew up like that with split houses where there obviously was a little bit of ill will, that's how it would be in certain cases. And I just felt like they nailed everything about it. And then the older lady, what does she say? She'd like to increase the frequency with, she pleasures him with her mouth or whatever. I forget how she phrases it, but
it was
Vince Vaughn's reaction is just amazing in that.
It was Reese Witherspoon's grandmother.
Yeah. So yeah, top to bottom, the cast is solid, and they're just, Vince Vaughn, he's great. So everybody meshed well together, and they hit it pretty well with this one.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you guys are saying. The cast is great. It has a lot of comedic events in this movie that just make you die laughing. Jon Favreau is hilarious, and there's the brother. I forget which one he plays. That Dallas. I totally forgot Tim McGraw was in this movie when I was doing research. I'm like, oh yeah, Tim McGraw is in this movie. It's beautifully cast to the point. This is outrageous out there. And Robert Duvall, another person we know from The Godfather, is a serious guy. just doing his part of being the grumpy old dad. A lot of people can relate to this, like you said, Nam. A lot of people had those sides of the family, just like, oh, we gotta go to this side and that side, and everybody's crazy on this side. I mean, I have them. I know. I'm pretty sure you guys have them too. So it's a movie you can relate with. I did find it weird that they were going to Fiji, and then a couple movies down the road, we have them going to Fiji as well. So I guess Fiji's an popular place during Christmas.
It's kind of like the Adam Sandler movies where I think he just like picks the movie that he wants to do, where he wants to go film.
Yeah. But this one's an enjoyable one.
Yeah, there's a scene in Four Christmases where like they're at the third Christmas, like the third house of the day, and it's Vince Vaughn's mom, and Reese Witherspoon sent a bunch of board games to play, and Jon Favreau and Katie Mixon are partnered up. And what's the game?
Taboo. They're playing Taboo.
Yeah.
And like everyone else is struggling and they don't understand the game. And like Jon Favreau and Katie Mixon are just like, Jon Favreau's like, flip the tube. And he's like, what? And he's like, flip
the
tube.
While he's eating chicken wings.
While he's eating wings. He's hammering wings. And she just starts listing things off, and he knows them, like things on your nightstand, tube sock. Thing that I help you get, I think I help you come up with Thursday night after you came home from the bar, an alibi. Man, I'm allowed to cheat on you with John Grisham. You and me naked on a beach humping.
No dry humping.
Screensaver.
Yeah, screensaver.
It's just like, this is perfect. I laughed so much in this movie.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Agreed.
But excuse me. Yeah, Peter Billingsley's actually in this movie, which he's the
ticket agent.
Yeah, so for those who know who Peter Billingsley is, he's actually Ralphie from Christmas Story. He's actually an elf as well as an elf.
He also directed Couples Retreat.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he did, which has both Favreau in it, Favreau and Faison Love, that we talked about earlier. But let's move on to our next one, guys.
Santa!
Yeah.
You're bringing my present early?
No.
But I never told you what I wanted.
I said I didn't bring it, dipshit.
Okay, good. I want a stuffed elephant. A pink one.
Well, wish in one hand, shit in the other one. See which one fills up first.
Okay.
2003's Bad Santa, directed by Terry Zigwoff, starring Billy Bob Thornton, Bernie Mac, John Ritter, Lauren Tom, Tony Cox, and Lauren Graham. The movie had a box office of $76.5 million on a budget of $23 million. King Nom, tell me about Bad Santa.
Top tier Christmas movie. The cast, phenomenal. Bernie Mac, John Ritter, just great. The way that he acts, like you'd really think he's that hammered for most of the movie because it seems legit, and all the kid wants is pretty much acceptance from him. He's carving the wooden pickle and slices his hand open and all that, and all Billy Bob does is get hammered and shove candy corns in the advent calendar and all that. Everything about it's good. Like I said earlier, the Ritter and Bernie Mac stuff they're great. They're seen in the middle when they're talking and Bernie's smoking a cigarette and all that with the long ash. Everything they do fits with this movie. And even the kid, though, Thurman Merman he's a classic character too. Like just this big nerd with snot hanging out his nose and his underpants sticking out and all that. Like this one's in the rotation all the time for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I can't believe that we don't have Bernie Mac and John Ritter around anymore. Like Billy Bob Thornton, was this movie, but this movie wouldn't have been the same without those two. Lauren Graham, I thought, was hilarious in this movie as well. Like just the fact that it takes place in Phoenix, Arizona at Christmas time. I couldn't believe my eyes the first time I saw this movie, and I have to watch it once a year. It's my Christmas Eve movie, so I will be watching it tomorrow when we get home from my in-laws.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you guys said. I think that this movie is hilarious. And as to Brian S's point in the comments, Billy Bob Thornton really was drunk during most of the filming.
Well, that makes sense.
And the escalator scene, he did have 3 glasses of red wine for breakfast, followed by vodkas, cranberry juice, and a few Bud Lights. So he was completely tore up. A lot of this movie was ad lib too. The part where Tony Cox is like yelling at Billy Bob Thornton, he's like, "You should probably stop digging in your ass. You shouldn't be digging in your ass," or something like that. Like that was an ad lib line, and the director at the time heard it and couldn't stop laughing. And like he said, he woke himself up from laughing just from that line and said, "We have to include that. Like, forget the other cut we took." You know, and another interesting thing I found about this movie, Swole, is I know how you feel about the Coen brothers, but they revised the screenplay for this movie. So they can make some good stuff.
I mean, a broken clock is right twice a day, buddy.
And the woman that Willie had sex with in the fitting room was actually Lauren Graham, even though it's never said. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Okay.
But yeah, the movie is it's really up there, man. Jack Nicholson wanted this role really bad, but he was already committed to something Gotta Give, and he couldn't do it. But I can't see anybody playing Willie besides Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh, Billy Bob Thornton absolutely killed it. And I think the other thing that we have to note if we're going to talk about Bad Santa is how good it is, but how awful part 2 was.
Yes, definitely. Really bad. This is actually John Ritter's last movie as well,
Yeah.
as Nom alluded to. You know, it's crazy that we lost those two guys, him and Bernie Mac. Very young, too. But with that, guys, let's get into our next one.
I'm going to give you to the count of 10 to get your ugly, yellow, no-good keister off my property before I pump your guts full of lead.
All right, Johnny, I'm sorry. I'm going.
1, 2, 10. Keep the change, you filthy animal.
1990s Home Alone, directed by Christopher Columbus, written by John Hughes, starring Macaulay Culkin, Joe Pesci, Daniel Stern, John Hurd, Catherine O'Hara, and Roberts Blossom. The movie had a budget of $18 million and made a whopping $476.7 million at the box office. Swole, tell me about Home Alone.
I mean, what do I need to say that hasn't been said? This movie is iconic. It is the definitive Chicago Christmas movie. You know, North Shore, Kevin McAllister, the Wet Bandits, the score and the music is fantastic. The premise is hilarious. And honestly, it's kind of beautifully shot, right? They make the suburbs look fantastic. The house is gorgeous. I went to go see it a couple years ago live and in person, and I think Nom and family went to go see it just a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
It's just a perfect Christmas movie, man. Everybody likes it. Everybody can find something out in it. I love it. I remember going to see it at one Schaumburg place before it became Streets of Woodfield, and I love this movie.
Yeah, totally. This is like iconic movie. This is a movie that made Macaulay Culkin a childhood star. I know he was in Uncle Buck previously to this and a couple of movies, but this is the movie that like showcased him.
Good name drop there, man. Anything with John Candy in it is good in my book.
Who's also in this movie as well as the Polka Band. But you know, it's a movie that's a staple again of Christmas. It's a movie that is often parodied, you know, even till today. I mean, Robot Chicken just did one where they mixed up Home Alone and Halloween Ends, which I thought was hilarious. You know, stuff like that. I found it interesting that Joe Pesci actually plays a comedic character in this movie. I mean, we know then he was in My Cousin Vinny, I believe, the same year. But Robert De Niro actually turned down the role of Harry. But you know, I can see anybody playing that role besides Joe Pesci, and his chemistry with Daniel Stern is you know great. This movie just it's like one of those movies that when you see as a kid and you're like it's so cool that he sets up all these traps, and then you start thinking about it today and think that kid must have grew up to be a serial killer because he fucking booby trapped his whole house. What do you think, Nom?
Yeah, you guys said it pretty well. You touched on it. The chemistry of the Wet Bandits, I think, was pretty much what made it what it was. Like, they were great together. Growing up at the time, I was like 8-10 years old, so obviously you gravitated towards something like that. You're seeing this kid home alone, and he's foiling these robbers' plans with Christmas ornaments and blowtorches and all that stuff. And I got to be honest, we watch this every year, and every year it makes me hurt more and more watching it happen as I get older. And I think, like, as a kid, I just didn't care at all. But now I watch it and I just think, oh my God, if that happened, like, it's just awful. But like, it's fantastic that this kid does this all on his own at 8 years old, I believe. And then overcomes the fear of the basement and the scary the South Bend Shovel Slayer that lived next door or whatever they called him.
It's the Marley.
Yeah. So no, yeah, that's why we go every year. We do go to. We drive up by the house. It's just, I mean, there were like 50 people there this year. It was a Saturday afternoon. They got 2 blocks away, a nice little downtown shopping district. So we grab some hot chocolate and then we look at all the lights in the neighborhood and just try to do like a nice family Christmas trip. And Home Alone's always one of the top ones that we watch right away. Like, I mean, it's like an early November one for us. So
yeah, it's definitely a classic.
You start celebrating like October 24th. So
yeah, sometimes earlier.
So you can get in all those movies.
It's also one of the examples, and I might be alone in this, but I like the sequel as much as I like the original.
They're actually both very good. The sequel has Tim Curry in it, which to me, like, I love Tim Curry. So
agreed. That helps.
Yeah, it definitely helps. I do like the original. I think the sequel is just as good though.
I might get canceled for this, but it's got everybody's favorite president in it too.
Yeah, he's in the beginning. He's at the Trump Hotel.
What a
Ding dang
cameo
dong.
that
The Plaza,
was.
ding dang dong.
Dong.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, this is Peter McAllister,
the
father.
The series is good. I mean, the first 2 are the best ones. The third one is not as great, nowhere near it. It's okay.
No,
and then
but
I never seen the 4th one though.
But there was
there's a 5th one too. I think
there's a 5th one that we talked about a little bit on Twitter with Fitz today. Home Alone,
Home Sweet Home Alone,
Home Sweet Home Alone. It came out on Disney Plus like 2 years ago, and it's not that bad.
Really?
And it has Buzz, like Kevin's brother in the original one, is the cop in this one.
Oh, does he play the same character?
I don't know if he's Buzz, but he's in it as the cop, and it's not that bad. It's pretty good, actually.
So
I think. Go ahead, Nom.
I enjoyed it. Haley and I watched it whatever year it came out. I think it was 2 years ago. We watched it without Amy, and she's like, "I'm not watching that." And I described it. I enjoyed it, but I was like, I described it as it's so bad, it's good. Like, it just, I don't know, something about it fit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna check it out now.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, the kid that's in it is the same chubby kid from Jojo Rabbit. Yump.
Okay. I'm gonna check it out. Like, if you guys are giving like your thumbs up to it, I'll check it out. But just some tidbits about this movie, and these are 2 theories that have gone out. It is rumored in the original screenplay that Uncle Frank was supposed to be the real villain, and Harry and Marv actually worked for him to rip off his brother, which I thought would have been kind of a funny ending to that movie because Uncle Frank is such an asshole. And then the other theory that rumor and conspiracy that's happened is that Elvis is actually in this movie.
Yep.
He's in the part where before John Candy is shown, he's actually in the back as an older gentleman. And there's been like a rumor that's been going on for years, and apparently that person's family came out. His name was Richard Grott, came out and said, no, he's just an extra in all of Christopher Columbus's movies. But he doesn't have that many film credits, so nobody knows. But I think that's hilarious that they think Elvis is in Home Alone.
I think it is him, and that's a likely story. The family would come out and say something like that.
Could be Nom. This movie's great. I still think today, if they should make a Home Alone with Macaulay Culkin acting as an 8-year-old kid, but as a 40-year-old man, where everybody treats him as an 8-year-old kid, kind of like a Martin Short movie. I think that would be pretty hilarious. Sorry, I'm late.
I think that they should do Home Alone where Kevin is scarred from everything that's happened to him, and he is just an absolute requiem for a dream heroin addict.
Oh my God, that would be great too. I would watch that too. But yeah,
it's like when we wrote Romeo and Juliet in our tainted glove chat.
Yeah, nah, I mean you weren't part of that, but we wrote like a whole
we wrote a whole script for Romeo and Juliet, and it was about this South Side girl that meets and marries a Cubs fan, and the two families can't get along. Like we had it cast, we had it everything. It was hilarious.
Yeah, this is all of us doing it. Pete, myself, and Fids and Swole. God, they're such nerds. But with that, guys, let's move into our next one.
Where do you think you're going? Nobody's leaving. Nobody's walking out on this fun, old-fashioned family Christmas. No, we're all in this together. This is a full-blown 4-alarm holiday emergency here. We're gonna press on, and we're gonna have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap danced with Danny fucking Kaye. And when Santa squeezes his fat white ass down that chimney tonight, he's gonna find the jolliest bunch of assholes this side of the nut house.
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, released in 1989, directed by Jeremiah Chechik, who also directed the horrible movie, the 1998 version of The Avengers. He also did The Bronx is Burning, that whole series, which I think is good. Starring Chevy Chase, Beverly D'Angelo, and Randy Quaid. This movie had a budget of $25 million and made a box office of $73.3. Nam, tell me about Christmas Vacation.
This one is my all-time favorite. I would take this. This could be a movie, if they say pick one movie for the rest of your life, any kind, I may take this one over just regular movies. I could watch this all the time. The cast is phenomenal. Aunt Bethany is probably one of my favorite characters. Cousin Eddie, everybody. It's just of all the vacation movies too, this one it hit right for me, and it's just so ridiculous. Like, everything about it is just over the top and fantastic. Like, what's her name living next door? Elaine. I can't think.
Elaine.
Yeah.
The character from Seinfeld.
Todd and Margot.
Yeah, I mean they're great. Just asshole neighbors. He comes out with the hockey mask on and the chainsaw and all that, and just phenomenal. I'd love to live next door to a guy like Clark.
So, what do you think?
To me, this is a movie that, like, Chevy Chase growing up was like just someone whose movies you loved, right? Like Dan Aykroyd, John Candy, Chevy Chase. Yeah, he's an asshole in real life, but that didn't mean that he didn't make funny ass movies. And this is absolutely hilarious from beginning to end. Cousin Eddie cracks me up to this day like nobody else in a Christmas movie has ever. And whoever wrote this movie wrote old people very well. Like, the older people in this movie were all written very, very well. And it was just something that, like, I picked up on this, like, my viewing of it this year. But Aunt Bethany and, both sets of parents, I think were just done really, really well. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that about the person that wrote old people very well, because cousin Lewis and his wife were actually based off George Burns and his wife at the time, which I thought was pretty hilarious. They tried to get George Burns to play that character, but he declined. So they have the guy who played cousin Lewis. And Lewis, actually, the only other movie I think I remember Lewis from is Tales from the Dark Side, when he gets killed by the cat, because he has that deep voice. But yeah, the movie is hilarious. It has Brian Doyle Murphy, Bill Murray's brother in his Bill Murray's brother in this movie, who plays his boss, which I think is, Johnny Galecki and Juliette Lewis are the siblings, and then they go on to play boyfriend and girlfriend in like later episodes of The Conners, which I think is crazy. Christopher Columbus was actually destined to direct this, but he couldn't get along with Chevy Chase, so he left, and they actually got the director they had for this, Jeremiah Chechik. Which that's kind of a running thing with Chevy Chase. He's a comedic genius, but even in Elf, he was considered for the Bob Newhart role, and Will Ferrell did not have a good experience with him when he was guest hosting Saturday Night Live, and Will Ferrell actually went up and said, "No, we're not working with him." So Chevy Chase, is known for having mess ups with co-stars, which I think is crazy for such a guy who's so talented. But this movie, like, it's a Christmas staple again. Like, these movies are Christmas staples. This movie's in fucking Rocky 5, Swole. When you're watching with Uncle Paulie when he's beating the shit out of the ornaments.
Yeah.
Like, it's like His movie made Randy Quaid who he was, and then Christmas Vacation 2 came out and everybody hated that. But Cousin Eddie was like a staple of comedy, and this is like one of the best Christmas movies, if not the best Christmas movie in a lot of people's opinion. I love this movie.
I think it's just perfect. Like the lights and like the sledding scene, and like I've only been a homeowner for like a year and a half, but like him stapling the Christmas lights into the roof, right? Like it's just good. It's perfect. Everyone likes this movie. It's universally liked.
And it's based in Chicago.
It is, but there's no mountains to sled down in Chicago.
I know, but it's supposedly based in Chicago. But let's move on to our next one.
I'm a little rusty at this. I've never done it before, but may I?
Yes.
Please do. To all of us, everywhere. A Merry Christmas to us all, my dears.
God bless us, everyone.
The 1938's A Christmas Carol, directed by Edwin Marin, who also directed Bombay Mail, starring Reginald Owen, Gene Lockhart, Catherine Lockhart, Barry McKay, and Lynn Carver. So this is one of my favorite movies. Again, another staple of the Garcia household. We watch this every year. This version of The Christmas Carol, I know there's a bunch of different versions that everybody watches, from the Muppets to Swole. I think you watched the 1951 version.
Yeah, I do the Alistair Sim one, so I'm not super familiar with this one, but I mean the story is well known.
Yeah, the story's just the same. So it can transpose into anyone. This is just my favorite version. It's the version that my mom showed me and that she continues to watch, so I watch it. I love it. I love Reginald Owen. He's such an asshole in this movie. Like I said, one of my favorite parts is when one of the three ghosts come to visit him, and when he's waking up from the first ghost of the past, he's grabbing his pillow and he's like choking the shit out of it. When it was a girl, I'm like, damn, like he was really mad. But it's nice story, nicely shot. It tells Dickens' story the way it should be told, and I think it's good acting. But like I said, this movie can be any other Christmas Carol movies. I just think this is my favorite one. What about you, Nom? Do you have a favorite Christmas Carol?
I would have to pick Scrooge, probably. Or you mentioned it, the Muppet Christmas Carol. That's one that I watched a lot when I was a kid that I haven't seen as much recently. But apparently Brian does not want us to mention the Muppet Christmas Carol.
No,
Anyway,
it's because in his pod we drafted Christmas movies, and everyone gave Steve shit about drafting Muppet Christmas Carol.
Well,
it's a good movie. We were just busting his balls.
I can't remember exactly where that pick was, but I felt like it was probably a lot too early. But I'll have to check this version out for sure. This is you said 1938. I have not seen this one ever.
So the good thing about this one, it's only an hour long, and it's
Okay.
this one's usually on PBS as well. So you'll probably check it out, or I don't know, was it Turner Movie Channel or whatever hell. We own the DVD because we're nerds like that. But yeah, this is definitely one to check out if you haven't seen it. But with that, guys, are you guys ready to get to our last one?
Yep.
All right, so let's get into that one.
What the hell is this?
These are what we in the business call scripts, Tom.
Excuse me?
You don't have to worry about dear, because your role is what we call in the business small.
Well, you're what we in real life call a jackass.
I don't know about that, but
Surviving Christmas, released in 2004, directed by Mike Mitchell, who also directed Deuce Bigalow, Trolls, and Sky High, starring Ben Affleck, James Gandolfini, Christina Applegate, Catherine O'Hara, and Jennifer Morrison. This movie had a budget of $45 million and made a box office of 15. Swole, I know this is one of your favorites. Tell me why you like Surviving Christmas.
Yes, this is my favorite Christmas movie. I stumbled upon this one night, kind of like, I think how Nom told the story about Four Christmases. Like, I never saw it in the theater. I never heard about it. I was up late at night flipping through cable, and it was on TBS, and I watched it, and it's so bad, but the cast is fantastic, and it's a fun Christmas movie. James Gandolfini is basically a Chicago meathead version of Tony Soprano in this movie. And everyone knows how I feel about The Sopranos. It's the greatest TV show to ever be made. And Ben Affleck is funny in this, and he plays this rich guy that goes back to live in his childhood home. and I just enjoy the shit out of this movie. He pays his family to move into him, and it's actually the house is in Lincolnwood, Illinois, and like Nom visiting the Home Alone house, my wife and I used to go take picture in front of the surviving Christmas house because we lived that far north in the city, and it's so fun. I really, really enjoy the shit out of this movie.
Yeah, this is a movie I've seen maybe twice. From what I remember, it had some funny parts in it. It wasn't the greatest movie. I love James Gandolfini. I think James Gandolfini does.
Yeah.
But Ben Affleck's character, I got a lot of Holden McNeil
Oh,
vibes from.
totally.
So that's what makes me laugh whenever when I was looking at the clips, I was like, oh, he totally reminds me of like Clerks Holden McNeil or Jane Silent Bob Holden McNeil. Like just that aspect of it made me laugh. But yeah, it's not a horrible movie, but I wouldn't put it at my top. But I can see why you like it.
Yeah, it's to me, it's just fun, and Christina Applegate is good in it. Catherine O'Hara is in another Christmas movie as the mom of the family. And Nom, how do you feel about this movie?
I'm a big fan of it. I like the family. It's a little awkward, but that's the whole point of everything. And same thing. Gandolfini, you give me anything with Gandolfini in it, I'm gonna love it, because when I watched Sopranos and saw his acting ability in that, it just carried over for all the other movies that I have seen him in that I may have seen before pre-Sopranos that I didn't really think anything, but now it just made me like appreciate the different levels of his acting. And yeah, it's a good one. It's been a couple years since I've seen it, but it's definitely one that I do enjoy watching.
Can you imagine the roles that he would be doing right now if James Gandolfini was still around?
I'm sure he would have been doing a lot of different roles that are non-mob-esque. Like he was a very he had a high range as a character.
For sure.
He was a police detective in Fallen. Like he can play that, or he was a colonel in the movie with Robert Redford, Last Castle. Yeah,
Last Castle.
Yeah, that was.
He was that creepy porno director in 8mm.
Yeah. He had a very
favorite.
Yeah, he had a range of characters he could play. He was very talented. Another guy who's just gone way too soon.
Way too soon. Just a fantastic actor.
And I heard from people who've worked with him, he was like a wonderful human being too. But for this movie, Swole, interesting fact: Jon Favreau was actually offered to direct this, and he turned it down to do Elf, which pretty good decision, I guess.
That's a pretty good decision. You can't go wrong with either of them.
Yeah, and this movie was filmed in Edgebrook, Illinois, of the Chicago neighborhood of Edgebrook. So if you've been there, yes, he wasn't a Mexican. He was the hitman that comes to kill Brad Pitt.
And what was his last movie with what's her name from Seinfeld?
I don't know if it was that movie that was his last movie. I thought he was in the movie with Buddy, with Tom.
No, but I think The Drop was filmed before he passed away, and it was just like shelved.
The Drop's a good movie.
The Drop is a good movie.
I can tell you his last movie right now. So James Gandolfini's last movie. He also did a movie with it says The Drop is his last movie, 2014. It was filmed. Enough Said he was Albert, and that is with Julia Dreyfus. So that's the movie you're talking about, Swell. Enough Said. You're on mute, buddy.
He also did the voice in Where the Wild Things Are.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's his body of work is really good. It's just a shame that he had to pass so young.
Yeah.
But guys, that's our top 10 movies for now. But give me one or two or three movies that were not mentioned off your list. Let's start with you, Swell.
All right, cool. I'm gonna go. Yes, he was awesome in True Romance. Good call out, Brian. So when we watch Christmas movies, I have movies that I have to watch on my own that my wife won't watch, and she has movies that I won't watch, like The Holiday and Love Actually. So the movies that I watch on my own are, one of them is Gremlins. I gotta watch Gremlins every year. What else do I watch? Friday After Next is another movie that I absolutely have to watch. I just watched that today before we recorded. And those are my two, Gremlins and Friday After Next. I love both of those movies.
What about you, Nom?
One I grew up on, and it's about 45 minutes. The Christmas Toy. It's more of like a Muppet-based one. Originally, when we were younger, it was introduced by like Kermit the Frog, and then there was something with the studio or something, so they eliminated Kermit from it. It's got like characters like Rugby Tiger and Meteora, and it's about this Christmas toy. Rugby Tiger was the toy that this girl got, and he wants to be the toy that she gets every year. He doesn't understand how Christmas works, and he doesn't want to be replaced. So they sneak out of the room and try to get under the tree and all that. And if a human catches them, then they freeze or whatever. It's kind of like a Toy Story type deal, but way before that. That was one that I watched as a kid that we still watch. We actually just watched with Haley the other day. And then a couple of years ago, the Christmas Chronicles with Kurt Russell.
Oh, good call. Yeah.
We got introduced to that by a guy from work. He's like, check it out. He's like, Kurt Russell's pretty awesome in it. And he plays a pretty cool Santa. And
the cameo at the end is my favorite.
Yeah. So, and even the second one, we kind of like that. We watched both of those the last couple of years now.
Yeah, you know how I feel about Kurt Russell. It's my dude.
Yeah.
So a couple of mine that we watched. Nom, you mentioned it earlier. Jingle All the Way is something me and my brother constantly watched during Christmas season. We would watch it when it wasn't Christmas season. That movie is hilarious with Sinbad and Arnold Schwarzenegger. It has so many good lines in there. Sinbad is so underrated for his comedy. Like, I wish people would know like how great Sinbad was, because he's not really as famous now. But that movie cracks me up. And the other one is something that my brother-in-law will get mad if I don't mention this, and it's something that we still enjoy today, is the original Christmas Story. I know it's a lot of shit, but that's a movie we grew up watching, and that's a movie that I like a lot.
Elite Christmas movie.
But yeah. But Nom, with that, thank you so much for joining us, Nom. I know you're freaking dying in this this Santa outfit.
I'm a little warm.
Yeah, thanks so much for
you should have taken your shirt off like me, bro.
That's all right.
just left the beard on the hat. But thank you so much. You're like one of our biggest supporters. Merry Christmas to you and the fam. Again, you know, everything you've given to us, we really appreciate, my man.
No, yeah, you guys deserve it. You guys do a great job. I love listening to the pod each week, and I appreciate you having me on to talk all things Christmas.
Well, we know you love it.
Baloney,
yes, sir.
Going down.
With that, Nom, do you have anything to plug? Your Twitter or anything?
No, I've got nothing going right now that I could think of. Just gotta gotta go get all the presents ready and start delivering tomorrow.
There you go, buddy.
All right, Santa. Nom, thank you so much, my man.
Hey, go get some sleep, buddy.
Take it easy, guys.
Take it easy, my man. All right, King Nom, one of my faves.
Absolutely.
But with that, well, let's get into our coming soon segment. So this is where we usually talk about where we're going with the show next. And like we discussed before earlier, today is going to be the last episode of season 1 for Yumper and Swole. And we'll be starting up season 2 January 15th after a short break. And we got something really, really cool planned, something different that we were kind of bouncing ideas back and forth, that we actually might have some special guests. I don't know yet, but it will for sure be on January 15th, and we'll be doing that one live as well. So check out the Twitters for announcements, and we'll get all your information there. And before we get to Swole's final thought, just want to say to everybody, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. Thank you so much for listening to us, watching us, commenting, all the good stuff. It's been awesome meeting all of you. The bums, we met you guys this year. Looking forward to collaborating with you, and we do have a show with them February 18th at the Relish Room, where we'll be doing a live podcast with them and then stepping over to the bar. What's the bar's name, Swole?
The Birchwood Tap.
Birchwood Tap. We'll be having a drink after the show, so come out and check us out.
Yeah,
that's going to be a fun time.
Anybody that wants to come out, and we're going to meet up and have some New Year's. I mean, it'll be in February, but some New Year's drinks with everybody.
For sure. And, it's going to be a good time. Like I said, great meeting them. Shout out to everybody from the 108. Shout out from everybody in White Sox Twitter, Cubs Twitter that's listened to us and hung out with us and bantered with us. Looking forward to a lot of good things coming for the Tan Glove Network and for Yumper and Swole. And with that, all I can say is thank you guys. And Swole, let's get into your final thought, my man.
Yes. I just want to say a couple things here. One, the first season of Yumper and Svo, we're putting a bow on it. It's been super fun recording with Yumper. We talk all the time, about this pod. We're very, very excited about February 17th. Everybody go have a good Christmas with your family. Unplug for a while, relax, and come back and hang out with us and enjoy. But we love you all, and we'll see you in 2023. Merry Christmas, guys.
Take it easy, guys.